Welcome to Cody in the Cinema. Today I'm discussing a good old-fashioned Western rivalry. Rio Bravo, is it better than High Noon, or is High Noon better than Rio Bravo? And folks, I just need to say up front, these are both fantastic films. This is all completely subjective. I wanted to make this video for people who already have seen these two movies at least once, maybe a few times, so spoilers will be discussed in this video. So if you haven't seen either of these movies, do that, okay, because they are excellent films. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at different categories I picked out, see which movie I think is better for that category, and then kind of wrap all of that up and tell you which movie I personally prefer and why. Let's start with who has the better cast. Is it High Noon or Rio Bravo? Well, unfortunately for High Noon, as good as Gary Cooper is, and this wonderful performance as Will Kane, and Grace Kelly and Thomas Mitchell give their all in those supporting performances. I don't think there's any question that when it comes to the cast, that Rio Bravo clearly wins in this category. I mean, John Wayne, the Duke himself, as a star lead. Angie Dickinson is a good love interest for him in that movie. I think she stands up well to him, against him, with him. And Dean Martin in a truly memorable role in that film. I love how a movie that's more of an action-adventure kind of movie, for it to have that kind of psychological depth with that character. Really love his character. And then you've got Walter Brennan. You've got Ricky Nelson there, a little bit against type. I mean, you even have Ward Bond in a pretty major role. This is a stacked, classic Western cast, and one of the best Western cast of all time. So, the award for cast, if there was an award. There you go, Rio Bravo. Okay, let's talk about cinematography. Which movie has better cinematography? Well, I love Rio Bravo's interiors. I think it does a great job with that Technicolor and that sort of lived-in feel that you get visually, and it is a pretty movie. However, when it comes to cinematography, I've got to go with High Noon as the clear winner here. Those empty, lonely shots of the railroad tracks, that consistent visual of the clock ticking down moment by moment as we get closer to the final shootout. And even that image, one that I always loved in that film, when one of the characters says he sat in that chair, and you see the chair, and it's empty, but you know that Frank Miller's coming. Awesome job with that visual storytelling in High Noon. So I would give the cinematography award or the visual award to High Noon. I know I'm simplifying that term down, but I enjoy High Noon a little bit more in that regard. All right, which one's more pure, like, just entertaining, okay? Well, they're both terrific films. They both keep you invested emotionally. High Noon, when you watch it, there are a few parts that I gotta say they aren't as engaging as others. There's a whole side romance that's been dropped from Gary Cooper's character's past. That's not quite as engaging as some of the rest of the movie. And overall, I think if you're looking for a purely entertaining movie, you're going to go with Rio Bravo, right? Like, it wins in this department. I think Quentin Tarantino called it like the best hangout movie of all time. It is so much fun to just sit here with these characters as they work their way through this justice that they're attempting to enact. And in fact, side note here, part of why John Wayne and Howard Hawks weren't as big of a fan and kind of hated High Noon is that they didn't feel like it was very American in their terms. They thought that, what was being suggested here was that this cowboy was kind of weak and couldn't take care of himself and needed help from his wife or something out, some kind of idea like that. Okay, I'm not sure that their criticisms have aged very well. But nonetheless, that's my thoughts on that. Entertainment. Okay, music. This was tough for me because Rio Bravo has that really awesome sing-along, Purple Light in the Canyon, that song. Like, that is such a good moment, and I know Roger Ebert talked about how that felt kind of airlifted in, but he wouldn't change it, and it's so fun, that one. And then the one where Walter Brennan's singing, I love the music. I love that kind of rich, fun atmosphere it brings, but I mean, you got to go with High Noon, don't you? Tex Ritter, Do Not Forsake Me, Oh My Darling. It's so good. Like, and the other thing is, if you go back and you look at Tex Ritter songs that like some of the other ones that were popular back in his time, this song from this movie has aged a lot better. It's not as I don't want to say that I don't like his other songs, because I do. I do think Tex Ritter was a great country musician, but I think this particular song has a timelessness to it and just sort of a rugged, raw, emotional grip to it. So High Noon's going to win for me for music. What about themes? Which movie has that kind of weight to the themes? Okay, I don't know. I don't know which movie's more thematically rich. I mean, on the one hand, High Noon is the more sort of serious, scholarly, literary, Shakespeare kind of movie, right? With themes of justice and coming together. And there's a lot of just, this one seems like maybe it's supposed to be the movie for the big brains, right? But Rio Bravo, even though it's supposed to be like maybe more of the entertainment, I don't know. This is a kind of a psychologically complex film, especially with Dean Martin's character. I think it has a good bit to say about not, relinquishing your duties because of an addiction, for example. I think it has some good observations about gambling and how that can be an addiction and society in general. So honestly, even though this has a much different approach than High Noon, it's a little bit less serious in its tone and so forth. These are tied for me. I think they're both terrific movies with terrific messages, and I don't think that The Duke and Howard Hawks should have been as hard as they were on High Noon. And so I kind of tie them in terms of their thematic messaging. Overall, for me, which movie do I like better? By a tiny, narrow margin, I'm going to go with Rio Bravo, okay? I think this just happens to just be one of the best made movies in this genre. I do agree that it's the best hangout movie of all time. It's so fun. It's so laid back and relaxed with the characters. I mean, even Ward Bond looks like he's relaxed in this movie. You can't help but fall in love and be enchanted by its magic. It's one of those movies that doesn't come around very often. And even though it's, kind of a long movie, you don't really feel it as you're watching it. And I like Rio Bravo a little better. Just a little better. I think it's a little bit more rewatchable. I think it's a little bit more fun. I think it's a little less stuffy in certain parts, and it's just easier to watch and more fun to watch. Again, they're both terrific movies, and I enjoy them immensely. So those are kind of my big overarching thoughts about High Noon and Rio Bravo and that little rivalry that they have. What are your thoughts? Which movie do you like better? If you do comment, which I really want you to comment, please don't spoil anything for people that might be reading the comments, okay? If you don't mind. If you do, whatever. But I don't want to put spoilers in the comments. But just let me know. I mean, I think this is a great discussion to have. I like comparing movies that kind of have like-minded ideas. If you're enjoying the content, if you wouldn't mind clicking like for me, that also really helps the channel grow. And I just so love doing these Western videos with the community. But that's all for Cody in the Cinema, and we'll see you next time.